Hello. Today we'll be reading Stupid History Tales of Stupidity, Strangeness, and Myth Conceptions Throughout the Ages by Leland Gregory. Why is Paul Revere revered? Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. Dot, dot, dot. The Landlord's Tale, Paul Revere's Ride, by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Not the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere, as most people call it. It's one of the best-known poems in American historical literature. But it's a poem. It isn't actual history. Paul Revere didn't make the historical ride into Concord, Massachusetts, to warn the citizens the British are coming. He did, however, ride into Lexington on April 17, 1775, warning the regulars are coming. The British Army was referred to as the regular troops. On April 18th, Paul Revere, a cobbler named William Dawes, and a doctor named Samuel Prescott were heading toward Concord to warn the citizens about British troop movements. Unfortunately, the three were spotted by a British patrol, and Revere was captured and detained. Dawes headed back toward Lexington, but Prescott continued on into Concord and was able to warn the citizens. Revere was released by the British the next day and had to return to Lexington on foot. They'd kept his horse, so actually it was a doctor named Samuel Prescott who made the immortal ride into Concord, not Revere. I suppose Longfellow chose Revere because it's easier to rhyme than Prescott. The next one is The Myth of Magellan. After learning about Christopher Columbus sailing the ocean blue in 1492, we were taught that Ferdinand Magellan sailed around the world in a single trip, or circumnavigated the globe, if you will. Well, he didn't. Magellan, a Portuguese captain in the service of Spain, set out on August 10, 1519, from Seville with 5 ships and a crew of 250 men. The things didn't go so well for old Magellan, though. His 3-year journey was plagued with terrible weather, maps that weren't up to date, starvation, and a violent mutiny. The truth of the matter is only one of Magellan's ships, the Victoria, arrived back at Seville, with only 18 of its 50 crew members alive. One other person who didn't make it was Ferdinand Magellan himself. When his ship landed on Mactan Island in the Philippines, he was met with less than friendly reception party. Magellan died, face down on the beach, looking like a pincushion from the numerous spears sticking out of his body. There's a footnote here, which I'm not sure how it relates, but it says buttermilk does not contain butter. It is a byproduct of the butter-making process and contains less fat than whole milk. I have no idea what that has to do with Magellan, but here we are. And on the next page, Clement Clarke Moore's famous poem is not called "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," but is actually titled "A Visit from St. Nicholas." The sugar plums mentioned in the poem, and seen in Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker Suite, I think that's Tchaikovsky, sorry, have nothing to do with plums. They're actually hard candies. Interesting note on that. My husband looked that up, and sugar plums, from what he looked up, are walnuts and pecans that have been candied. So candied nuts are sugar plums. Um, I'm not sure who's right. This one's in print. That one was online, so be your own judge on that one, I guess. The next one is called Taking a Whack at the Truth. A lot of erroneous history is passed down in books, plays, movies, and poems. Usually these were intended to be entertainment, not historical truths. But some of these false facts are so ingrained in our consciousness that there's little chance of the truth becoming as popular as the fiction. Here's an example. What do you think of when you hear the name Lizzie Borden? Everyone chant with me. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. Since she was first suspected of hacking her parents' death in 1892, Lizzie Borden has stood out as one of the few female homicidal maniacs in history. And if it wasn't for this little refrain, her name would have been forgotten years ago. What is forgotten is that a jury acquitted Lizzie Borden after only 66 minutes of deliberation, and all charges were dropped. I hope the truth about Lizzie's innocence becomes as popular as the song, and then we can all just bury the hatchet. I'm sure they meant no pun intended there. Lizzie Borden is, it's rumored that she definitely did it, and they, back in that day, just could not fathom a woman could do such a heinous act. So there is something to be said for her guilt. This is me talking, this isn't the book. So, from what I've seen of Lizzie Borden, maybe she did it. It's been way too long to ever really find that truth out. So, the historical record says that she was found innocent, or at least acquitted, and I guess we all can draw our own conclusions. It really does not matter to day-to-day life, so who cares, I guess. Ooh, this is a good one. Benjamin Franklin didn't discover electricity. What a shock. Here's the quickest way to disprove that Benjamin Franklin discovered electricity. It already had a name. Electricity comes from the Greek word electron, which means amber. The Greeks discovered that they could generate static electricity by rubbing amber with fur. What Franklin was trying to prove in his 1752 experiment was the electrical nature of lightning, that lightning was, in fact, electricity. It is true that Franklin flew a kite with a key tied to the string, but the kite was not struck by lightning. If it had been, Franklin might have become a has-been. The spark that leapt from the key to Franklin's knuckle was caused by the flow of electrons that exists at all times between the ground and the sky. But during a thunderstorm, the electrons are more active. Had Benjamin Franklin, the inventor of bifocal glasses, actually been struck by lightning, he would have made a real spectacle of himself. So, interesting note about Benjamin Franklin and all of the other historical figures featured in the musical Hamlet. Oh my God, not Hamlet, sorry. Hamilton. Um, if you Google these people, their actual names, um, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Hamilton, uh, meaning to say Alexander Hamilton, as well as Philip Hamilton, and just any of the cast, their actual characters' names. The cast pictures show up on their Wikipedia pages, and I found that hilarious. I was watching Hamilton for like the 100th time, and I decided to Google the actual people and see the paintings of them to see what they actually look like. And I got quite a chuckle because the name escapes me now, but oh my gosh, what was his name? Hercules something. Um, Brennan, was it? I don't know. But Hercules something, the tailor in the in the play Hamilton musical. If you look that Hercules Mulligan, sorry, I just had the song playing in my head. Hercules Mulligan, if you look him up, it's the stage actor. It's his picture, and there are words over his picture that say your pants are hot. And I thought that was hilarious. Oh, sorry, that was just a little side note, a little aside for you. Okay. This next one is called, and these, just so you know, when I say the next one, this is not a book per se when it comes to chapters or uh, really any kind of storytelling. This is just each page has a paragraph or two um, about stupid history. And so when I say the next one, I just mean the next heading. Return to sender, address unknown. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I had a hiccup. Return to sender, address unknown. Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address is considered one of the most moving and brilliantly written speeches of all time. And the most fascinating aspect of the speech is that Lincoln wrote it on the back of an envelope while traveling by train through Pennsylvania. Wrong. It would be wonderful to believe that this masterpiece was so divinely inspired that Lincoln dashed it off in a matter of minutes, but the truth is, Lincoln began working on the Gettysburg Address 11 days before he gave the speech on November 19, 1863. In fact, there are 5 drafts of the speech still in existence, some even written on White House stationery. Maybe because the speech is fewer than 300 words, people have assumed he just pulled it out of his hat. I don't know. I was not aware of the controversy over Gettysburg Address. Granted, I'm not a historian in any way, shape, or form. I don't know many historical facts. Unfortunately, probably should, but I don't. And I can't even blame the American education system because it's my own fault for not paying attention. So, um, I know a lot about a little and a little about a lot, but I don't know everything. So, I don't know. Let's see. We've got the next one is called By Any Means Necessary. Here's another well-known fact about President Abraham Lincoln. The Emancipation Proclamation freed the slaves, right? Well, no. The proclamation issued by Lincoln on January 1st, 1863, proposed freeing slaves in the southern states only. It didn't mention ending slavery in the North. Even Lincoln's Secretary of State, William Henry Seward, saw the irony in that statement and stated, "We show our sympathy with slavery by emancipating slaves where we cannot reach them and holding them in bondage where we can set them free." Good point. Before he issued the Emancipation Proclamation, Lincoln threatened the South by saying if they didn't rejoin the Union, he would abolish slavery. They didn't, and he had to follow through with this threat. But it was an empty threat because the South had already seceded to Lincoln and Lincoln had no authority over it. Lincoln's real reason for proclamation was made very clear in a letter he sent to the New York Times. My paramount objective in this struggle is to save the Union, and is not to save or destroy slavery. If I could save the Union without freeing any slaves, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing all slaves, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing some and leaving others alone, I would do that. Oh, how noble. Okay. Although we are all taught that Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation freed the slaves, it didn't. What did free the slaves was the 13th Amendment. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. What did free the slaves was the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, which was ratified in the latter part of 1865, and unfortunately, Lincoln was dead by that time. Well, I did not know any of that. It's not, that's not fun. That's not fun to know. How horrible is that someone would get credit for something so big and honorable, and he really didn't give a crap about it. It wasn't like his main focus. And he was okay with not doing it if the Union would just realign itself. That's kind of messed up. Don't know how I feel about that one. Okay. The next one is the color is plain wrong. Even though the flight data recorder carried on all military and commercial planes is called a black box, it is, in fact, bright orange. It wouldn't make sense to paint the black box black, as that would only make it harder to find after a plane wreck. That's pretty true. That makes sense. Makes me wonder why it was ever called the black box in the first place. Was it black at one point in time and they were like, well, this is hard to find. Let's make it fluorescent. It's kind of like the high vis box. Doesn't have the same ring to it, does it? Maybe it's an homage to the fact that most likely everyone has passed. And so it's the black box because black is associated with death. I don't know. I think it was Bill Engvall, the comedian, who who made a joke that the whole plane should be made out of the same material as the black box since the black box always survives. I don't know if it would fly, but he's got a point. um, there is a footnote on this page that also has nothing to do with the black box, but I'll read it nonetheless. Despite their name, centipedes do not necessarily have 100 legs. The number of appendages ranges anywhere from 28 to 354, depending on the species. And millipedes don't have 1,000 legs either. Okay. This book seems like it was written by someone who's very bitter. Very bitter and wants to set the record straight on everything. And when he has little bitty facts that don't have anything to do with what he's talking about, he just writes it in red. Apparently buttermilk, centipedes, and millipedes really bother him. What's going on, Leland? Leland Gregory, author of this book. Little pent-up resentment. I wonder if he's like a history teacher. I could definitely Google him, but honestly, I don't feel like it right now. Okay. All right. Let's read one more. Let's try and keep this video under 20 minutes. It's my first one, and I would like to get it uploaded. I don't know if there's a time requirement to be met or to not exceed on YouTube. So let's read one more. The light bulb was not Edison's bright idea. Thomas Alva Edison is credited with hundreds of inventions. Not the least of these is the electric light bulb. Ask any school child who invented the light bulb, and he or she will, without hesitation, name Thomas Edison. But the truly illuminated know the first light bulb was actually... Oh, I'm so sorry, I read that sentence wrong. But the truly illuminated know the first light bulb was actually invented in 1802, nearly 77 years before Edison's version, by an English chemist, Sir Humphrey Davy, who made an arc lamp glow by passing electricity through a platinum wire. Davy never pursued any practical use for his invention, and the world stayed dependent on candle power and oil lamps for several more decades. In 1845, an American, J. W. Starr, developed a light bulb using a vacuum bulb and a carbon filament, a design very similar to Edison's. When Starr died at the age of 25, an Englishman, Sir Joseph Wilson Swan, continued to work on his design. The main problem with this and previous designs was that the filament would burn only for a short while, rendering the light bulb impractical for any real use. In 1877, Edison went about searching for a filament that would stay illuminated for a long period of time. After trying nearly 8,000 possibilities, he found one, a carbonized cotton thread. So Edison discovered a way to make a light bulb work for an extended period of time. Not really. Remember Joseph Swan? Well, he discovered using a carbonized piece of cotton thread would do the trick, too, 10 months earlier. In fact, he filed a patent infringement suit against Edison and won. So Edison, living up to his credo that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration, became inspired, made Swan a partner in his lightning company, and later bought him out. What an ass. Yeah. So yeah, that didn't sit easy either. Um, you think you know something. Also, I have not done my due diligence as far as trying to verify any of this information. So, you know, who knows who's correct and who's not. This could just be somebody's rantings, but it sounds legit. Um, I don't know. What do you think? I also remember seeing a video or reading an article, probably a video to be honest, about a light bulb in New York City, that has been going for 100 years and it's still going. And it proves the theory of um, planned obsolescence, where you buy products that are designed to fail after a certain amount of time and wear out so that you have to buy more because they don't want to design something that could last forever, because then why would you buy more? So, planned obsolescence. I believe that's the phrase. It could be something else, but I know obsolescence is in there. Um, anyway, thank you for listening. And if you have anything you'd like me to read, I will try my best to get a hold of it. Just leave it in the comments. Please like and share, and I will see you next time. Have a good day.